What is the best way to cheat in a math test hypothetically? Okay. I have the perfect way to do it, alright? It worked for when I was in school, when I had to do it once, it worked flawlessly, okay? Now listen close. Basically what I did is you will need a very, very small, like either a piece of paper or something of that nature. Something to put all of the information you'll need onto it, right? Okay, so get like you'll need to put it on a small piece of paper. But to start out, you need to know everything that's on the test, right? So, you'll need to get everything that might be on a test, write it down onto just any piece of paper. It might take up a few pages or anything, but just write it down. Make sure it's written down, okay? And once you have it written down, you need to figure out how to write that in a much shorter way. So just you got to think about it and figure out, how do I condense this down into like an amount of information that I can put onto a smaller piece of paper, right? So, oops, you write it down on a smaller, you condense it down into a smaller, till it fits on a smaller piece of paper, and try not, you don't need to get it on the tiny piece of paper just yet, but just condense it down once, right? Then once you've condensed it down again, you should be at the point where, you can write it onto this tiny piece of paper. And this piece of paper is like maybe like an inch by an inch, and you can just hold it in the palm of your hand. And then once you have all of the information in a piece of paper that can fit on the palm of your hand, you throw out the paper, because you'll remember it anyways. No joke, I did that once. I had a law class and I was like, I don't know any of this stuff. I don't know anything. Like, what do I do? And I had a smartwatch, but it only had like 256 by 256 pixels that I could, at the time, that I could fit stuff on. And I was like, what am I gonna do? And so I wrote it down on a big piece of paper, made it smaller, made it smaller, made it smaller until it fit. And then I realized I don't need this anymore. I remembered it all. But honestly, I felt so clever at the time, then at the end, I was like, damn it, I just studied. It's like the only time that I've like... Actually, never, there was one time where technically, I kind of cheated-ish on a test. So, in math class, most of the time, I was pretty bored. Math comes pretty easily to me. Like, I'm pretty lucky in that way where I don't really have too much of an issue with math. So instead of paying attention to the class, I instead just did whatever I wanted. Most of the time, that was just bringing Pokemon Emerald to class and playing that. The teacher ended up giving up. Betrayed? No. You guys, listen, hear me out, okay? So, I got bored in math, and... I can't remember which math class it was, but it was the math class where we had graphing calculators and stuff, right? It's the math where you start to get into, like, graphs and stuff. I was bored in class, and one day I forgot how to, or I forgot my Game Boy Advance SP, which with Pokemon Emerald on it. I was like, well, what am I gonna do during math class? Like, I'm not paying attention. What am I gonna do? And I thought about it for a while, and I was like, I got this calculator. And so, I wound up looking at the calculator, messing around, and I realized that there was like a little, a little programming thing in it where you could like, you could program stuff. And I was like, okay. And now keep in mind, I'd never done any programming before, so I was like, this is kind of interesting. This is treasure room. But like, kind of useless. But I messed around for a little bit, and I realized that I could just like, instead of having to type in all of these formulas that we need to remember, I could just put them into the calculator in programs where I just type in all of the variables and it can just solve it for me instead of ever having to type all this stuff in. And so I made a program that basically, it would ask you what type of question you were trying to solve. You would pick the type of question, you would pick how many variables and stuff you would need, and it would give you the answer to basically any question in the textbook. It's like a multiple choice thing. It's like, okay, it's this type of problem. You gotta do this. And the thing is, I just use this for homework, right? Never really use this for tests or anything, because generally they make tests a lot easier. It's just like the bare minimum to show what you're doing. But I remember for the final, like, I knew what I was doing. I could have done the final in, like, you have 3 hours. I probably could have got it done in, like, you know, like an hour, 45 minutes. But, we go when we have to give our calculators in, obviously, so, the teacher can clear it. The teacher clears it. But I go to check my calculator during the test, and apparently it was cleared incorrectly, and all the stuff is still there. And so I go through the exam. It's like 50 multiple choice questions. I think I finish it in like under 10 minutes and then leave. I think I got like a 98 on the exam. But yeah, we in short, to summarize that, I kind of unintentionally studied for my math by like coding it into the calculator, and I feel like, I don't know, it just sped everything up rather than like, it didn't really, I don't know. I feel like it's not technically cheating because you still need to know how to solve all the problems, but it just sped it all up, if that makes sense.